Welcome to Statutes and Stethoscopes, where million-dollar verdicts are won or lost on medical evidence and where the chart never lies. We take you inside the high-stakes world where medicine meets justice. From forensic pathologists who read death like a story, to trial attorneys who turn complex medical records into courtroom victories. These are the voices that matter when everything is on the line. Discover how expert witnesses survive cross-examination, uncover red flags in nursing home records, and learn why the right medical insight can change everything. This is Justice in Action, where every case could be someone's last chance for truth. Here's your host, Tracy Liberatore.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Statutes and Stethoscopes. In a world where justice is often defined by dollar signs and trial outcomes, today's guest speaks the language of both fluently. From landmark verdicts against industry giants to advocating for communities devastated by disaster, she's a force in the courtroom, a fierce protector of the injured. With hundreds of millions secured in client recoveries, including staggering verdicts of 80, 57, and 41 million against Johnson & Johnson. She's reshaping corporate accountability one case at a time. Whether it's transvaginal mesh litigation, catastrophic fires, or dangerous birth control drugs, her docket reads like a blueprint for modern plaintiff advocacy. She's earned her stripes in over 100 trials, holds accolades from law dragon to super lawyers, and still finds time to lead national legal organizations, author chapters on trial strategy, and raise 2 children, a daughter entering her freshman year of high school and a son starting 8th grade. From courtroom warrior to community advocate, please welcome Kila Baldwin to Statutes and Stethoscopes. Welcome, Kyla.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I am truly excited to have you today based on our prior conversations, and I can't wait to get this episode recorded. Kyla is going to take it inside the high-stakes world of mass torts and medical litigation, revealing what it really takes to stand out in the courtroom, from choosing the right experts to building landmark cases. Stay with us to the end, where she shares what it truly takes to become a successful trial lawyer. So, why did you choose a career in law?
Tracy, it's a good question. I meet a lot of young lawyers and mentor a lot of young lawyers and deal with clerks. And a lot of them say to me, I've always wanted to be a lawyer, or something happened to one of my parents and that's something I always wanted to do. And I have a complete opposite story. I went into undergrad wanting to be a doctor and studied science and thought I was off to medical school. And then my father actually had a stroke when I was in college. And I thought, my God, I can't be a doctor. What if I had to give bad news to somebody? It affected me. So it sounds funny, but I took the LSATs on a whim. And I got a wonderful scholarship at Temple University here in Philadelphia. So I took it. And I didn't love law school. The first year, I was like, this is really tough and really boring. I wasn't one of those people who's, I love the law. I was not. But my second year, you don't have to take the required courses. You can take electives. And I took a trial advocacy course. And I fell in love with it. The idea of picking a side and advocating for people and public speaking, I really loved it. And ever since then, it's been a love story with the profession. I really do love it. I've been fortunate enough to work almost exclusively as a plaintiff's attorney, which I absolutely love. It's helping the underdog and helping people get justice. I think it's a great way to make a living. I really do love what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
The numbers speak for themselves. And, really, like kind of hit home for me when we were talking about some of these things is really a true leader for women in the profession. And that's something I truly admire. So tell me a little bit about the firm where you currently work and what motivates your work, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'm an Advocate Weiss. I've been here almost 3 years. Prior to that, I was at another major plaintiff's law firm for close to 20 years. When I was a young lawyer, I got a lot of trial experience very early on. I got a lot of experience in the courtroom, which was amazing. But there simply are not a lot of female trial attorneys. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that when I was a young lawyer, I didn't really have a lot of female role models or mentors. And so I think it's very important now as I come up, have trial experience and have been lead trial counsel and do what I do, that I mentor young females, frequently take young female lawyers out to lunch, take law clerks out to lunch, welcome them to our firm. But I am proud to say here at Advocate Weiss, we are a majority female-owned firm, which is very rare in the plaintiffs world. And we're large for a plaintiffs firm. We have more than 30 attorneys now. And the majority of our attorneys are female. I think it's important, one, to pave the way for other women so that they can learn how to be successful in this field. But two, it's a really great and unique work environment. Everybody supports each other. Everybody tries to help each other. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than female empowerment and female helping women.
Totally agree with that. Absolutely. So what motivates your work? Perhaps a formative case or a personal philosophy?
Sure. I love advocacy. I love advocacy. I love trying to help people. I think that's an important part of my job, is that satisfaction you get from helping people. And I think that motivates me quite a bit. It's just, at the end of the day, I feel really good with the outcomes I'm getting and the people I've helped, because they're not big corporations with billions of dollars. They're often people who need this money just to take care of themselves, given whatever injury they've suffered. And just the relationships I form with my clients keeps me going. Even if you look in the background here, I have pictures behind me. All the pictures there aren't of my family. Those ones are all of me and clients and former clients. And there's a picture back there of a little girl standing in front of a bull that a client gave me after his wife was catastrophically injured following a neurosurgery. I formed such tight relationships with my clients that really does keep me motivated. They're like members of my family.
That's really awesome. And I think that's such an important thing to share too, because I think lawyers get a bad rap a lot of times because we hear all the lawyer jokes and people tend to think of us as blood sucking or out for the money. A lot of times you hear it. And I think it is so important. Really, we're here to help people, right? We're not just out there to get somebody. And I always try to tell people, who's the first person you call when you're in trouble? Maybe besides your mom.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really good.
People have to understand it's not what we do. It's not always about the money. It's about bringing change to community as well. Yeah, we get money because that's what the civil justice system provides for us. But it's also about making change in hospital systems and drug companies, just in the way the world works. So it's safer for all of us.
Absolutely. And holding people accountable if they bring harm to someone else, really. And quite honestly, with some of these cases that I've seen go through, it's almost scary to go to a doctor because you don't know who the good ones are sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you right now, we have 2 young lawyers who just gave birth. They have children. And I have another lawyer here who's pregnant right now. And it's funny because we do a lot of birth injury cases here. I know how to read fetal monitoring strips like that. It's scary when you're a layperson and, you go to a physician, but they're always coming back and saying, this happened to me. What does this mean? What does that mean? It's a scary word out there because in today's day of managed healthcare, I think that everybody has to advocate for themselves. You go to a doctor and a doctor's going to tell you, but you also have to look into it, do your own research, know what's going on with your own body.
Oh, absolutely. It's more times than I could count that I'm very glad to have the medical degree that I have for advocating just for my own family. And
yeah, absolutely.
The law degree, in addition to that, was just, I don't know how I ever lived without the law degree, to be honest with you, because you just learn so much about how the world operates.
Yeah.
Crazy. So why don't you highlight for us to maybe some systemic failures that you've either exposed or your role in shaping some of this litigation trends nationally?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Just in the birth injury world, a lot of what we do is represent women whose child was either killed or suffered a catastrophic brain injury during the childbirth process. Most often that relates to a failure to timely call a C-section because of some kind of a condition that's come up, whether it be preeclampsia, a placental abruption, something else that can happen, gestational diabetes. The children, as I said, either pass away, unfortunately, or suffer horrific brain injuries where they're going to need help for the rest of their lives. And although in each case, what we are seeking is monetary damages, a lot of what we work with is part of settlement negotiations or part of resolving cases for hospitals to change their policies and procedures, whether that be training the doctors and nurses to make sure annually that they're up to date on how to interpret fetal monitoring strips, or when a doctor needs to be called, under what circumstances, things along those lines. Years ago, I represented a man whose wife was killed when a power line fell down on top of her. It was a horribly tragic case. And part of that resolution of that case involved changes to the way the company did business and inspected their power lines moving forward. In every case, we look not only for what monetary change we can make, but how can we make the company or the defendant or whatever the circumstances was a little safer for everybody else. My best clients aren't the ones who say, I'm going to be rich or I want this much money. They're the ones who say, I don't want this to happen to anyone else, because that's really what we're going for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you change the world that way, really, at least in the Americas, right?
Yeah, we can only go so far. Yeah.
Yeah. America does set precedent, so we can always hope, but yeah,
right.
I'm sure. So just to switch gears a little bit, your cases often intersect with medicine, as we've talked about. What is the most important thing for you when you're looking to hire a medical expert?
Sure. Having good medical experts or experts in general is the most important part of personal injury litigation. It's important when you're going to find a lawyer that you find a firm that's experienced and has the means to hire good experts. You want someone, first off, who's well-credentialed, who has a good degree, maybe an Ivy League degree or comes from a very well-credentialed school, has gone to the right medical schools, has gotten the right training in their internship or residency. But what's also important is that you meet with this person who's going to be your expert and that they are down to earth, reasonable, and able to explain their opinions. You have to be able to see that they're going to be okay in front of a jury very early on in the case, because every case I get, unfortunately, is catastrophic. Someone got hurt very badly or was killed. And I work each case up as though I'm going to have to take it to trial. The reality of the world is that 90 or 99% of cases settle. But I can't, as a personal injury lawyer with catastrophically injured clients, believe that every case is going to settle. So very early on in the case, I try to find the right experts who have the right experience, who have the right area of experience for what my client went through. You don't want someone who's suing over a back injury and you've got a doctor who's a general surgeon. That's not what you need. You need the right kind of expert. But you also have to make sure that they are going to be able to present well to a jury, because ultimately, when push comes to shove, that might be where we end up.
And when you say present to a jury, what sort of characteristics or attributes are you looking for with that sort of presentation?
Sure. Basically, it's you have very high level opinions. Of course you do. And a lot of very complex medical words, but you have to be able to explain it to the level of the jurors. And I typically say, assume everyone in the jury has a 9th grade education. You've got to be able to not dumb it down, but make it simplistic enough. And I don't want someone who's going to walk into the courtroom and act like an aristocrat and use a bunch of big words and not be able to explain themselves and look down on people who couldn't understand them. I need someone who's going to be able to get up on a whiteboard, explain what these big words mean, show the jury with diagrams or models, and make it so the jury really feels as though they understand the medicine or whatever the issue is at the end of the day.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I think sometimes we get so enmeshed in our careers, and we do this every day, and we forget that not everybody understands our language, so to speak.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I'm a lawyer, so I deal with lawyer speak. But I sometimes wonder, if I never went to law school, would I understand what a joint tortfeasor is, or what negligence means, or what the difference between a plaintiff is? What's a plaintiff? What does that word mean? And unless you're literally enmeshed in the court system or the law system, you don't understand what even those terms mean. So
it's very true system for us now. And it's like trying to explain, okay, there's plaintiff, there's defense, there's civil, there's criminal. And when you do intake, they just don't know this stuff. And to us, it's so basic, right? But it really is.
And I don't think TV shows help us much, because they show very unrealistic scenarios of very exciting court cases, mostly in the criminal world. That's not really the way it works.
I know. It ruins it for us trying to watch those shows. Yeah. All right. How about any tips maybe for clinicians that are looking to become an expert when dealing with trial attorneys?
Sure. Really good question. I think if someone wants to get into the expert field, it's a great experience. I think I've had a lot of experts who've worked for me or done work for me reviewing cases, and they say it helps them be a better practitioner because it forces you to think more critically about your practice and about the steps you take in your practice, and even down to documentation, what needs to be documented versus what doesn't. So I really do think it's an exciting field to get into if you are a practitioner. But if you're looking to get into this field, I think the most important thing is to deal with quality attorneys. Don't go out and deal with kind of every slip and fall case that comes down the road. You want to deal with experienced attorneys who know what they're doing so they can show you the ropes, help you along the way, help you prepare quality reports, work with you on giving your first testimony, whether it's in a deposition or a trial setting.
Yeah, for sure. And I find that a lot. There's a lot of attorneys that we work with, and they don't want to do a lot with working and training and helping them understand trial. And I get it, everybody's busy, but at the end of the day, this is your case too, and you want the best expert you can get. Investing a little bit of time perhaps is important.
I think it's very important. I spend a lot of time with my experts. I get them involved early on in the cases. I go through records with them. I call them before and after I take depositions. I talk to them through their reports, things like that. But I think it's very important that you get involved in that process and work hand in hand with the attorneys on the cases so you really understand what it is they're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And you made a really good point too about, I hear that all the time from experts when they go, this has made me so much a much better clinician, and I even do my job better. Or I think just understanding why we document beyond the need to remember the patient, but also from the legal side of, if it's not in the record, basically you just didn't do it, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Especially,
think it's important for doctors in documenting just their thought process of why they do certain things sometimes. We hear the term differential diagnosis thrown out there, but doctors don't often document their differential diagnosis. And it could just be, I rule out the following three things, and that's why I did this test or that test. I think it's important for doctors to document sometimes the things that they would normally just assume aren't that important.
no, for sure. Because I think, and I talk to them all the time about this stuff too, and I'm trying to teach them how to write a report. When we're trained medically, trained that everybody just wants the answer and the solution. We don't care how you got there mentally. But in the legal world, we want all of how you got there. And the
It
answer
matters.
might not be so important, but we want all of the thoughts out of your brain onto the paper.
Absolutely. It does matter.
I always say it took me a year of law school to flip that switch. That's difficult. It wasn't an easy thing to do. So how about let's talk about a case. Is there a single case that stands out for you?
Oh gosh, I have so many. I'm trying to think. Last year, I tried a case with Larry Coben of my firm. It was his case. It involved a defective gas cap on a Honda motorcycle. And it was an interesting case because our client was driving illegally in the parking lane in Philadelphia on his motorcycle, which you're not allowed to do and not supposed to be doing. And he hit a trash truck. It was his fault. He hit the trash truck. But in the sequence of the accident, the gas cap popped off the vehicle. And he was lit into flames and suffered really bad 3rd and 4th degree burns all over his body, which was absolutely crazy. And Larry is a really skilled lawyer in the world of crashworthiness. And he had the forethought to think, boy, you should really sue Honda because that gas cap should never come off in this kind of accidents. And we ended up trying the case against Honda for the design of their gas tap and won. And we got a $20 million verdict in Philadelphia. It's just kudos to Larry, who's just a genius in the crashworthiness world. But it's just something that's on my mind in a recent case or a recent victory.
Yeah, and again, talking about changing things for people and safety, that's a design defect. Honda now has to go back and fix that so it doesn't happen to other people.
Yeah, I have several right now, birth injury cases that we're working on. And I just tried one a few weeks ago out in Dauphin County. I think that just each one of those cases stands out in me so significantly because even if you win or lose, it forces the hospital, the physicians, the nurses to take a more critical care at their actions in the case and maybe what could have been done differently. And I think that's very important just in the medical context. Everybody needs to, whether they want to or not, sometimes look critically at how they perform or how they do certain things.
Absolutely. It's the only way we can advance. So let's talk about your birth injury cases.
Sure.
What can you tell us about these cases and what makes you and your firm stand out in handling these cases?
Sure. One, and I don't think I can say this enough, we're women here. I've had to
Absolutely.
on here who are babies, and I'm intimately familiar with what it means to be in labor, to have problems while you're pregnant, to have issues that come up where you have to go get ultrasounds more frequently, to be worried about weight gain or loss, protein in your urine, what it means if you have preeclampsia. We are women and we really understand it because we've all literally lived it and walked the walk. And I think that's important in certain medical malpractice cases, specifically with women. Women need women lawyers because they understand better than a man ever will what it means to be pregnant. Another thing that our firm is, we've been around a while and we have a lot of resources, but that enables us to hire best experts and the top experts, the experts who practice at Harvard or who practice at Johns Hopkins or who practice at these top universities, which is important for credibility in front of a jury. And experience. Sadly or not, I know how to read fetal monitoring strips. I know what I'm looking for when I look at blood test results and things like that. So you want a lawyer who's experienced and know what these different things means so you can explore all the avenues in a case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I hear you on that. There's no way a man will know what it's like to go through a pregnancy and have kids and the stress and the anxiety even that comes with that, just hoping everything is okay. And I know for myself, I even ate better when I was pregnant because I was feeding somebody else.
So just
I took better care of myself, your own body. And yeah, took better care of me when I was pregnant because it wasn't really only about me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how about your medical device litigation? Do you have anything you want to share on that topic?
I've handled all different kinds of medical devices. For better or worse, I've never really been involved in the mass tort world until they need a case tried. And then someone comes knocking on my door. So I've had the opportunity to try a bunch of transvaginal mesh cases, which are meshes that were designed to be implanted vaginally in women who were suffering from either pelvic organ prolapse or stress urinary incontinence. When the meshes unfortunately promote inflammation, infection, they erode into organs where they shouldn't. It's horrible what happens to women. Create lifelong pain with sex. It's really terrible. And the mesh is a permanent implant. So I've tried a bunch of them and done very well, gotten a bunch of 80 million, 50 million, $40 million verdicts. Now, there was at one point an MDL. It was a mass tort. Thousands and thousands of women brought suit. And that is mostly resolved. But now my firm still takes mesh clients and we work them up individually as though each one is its own individual case. So we're still actively doing those. Oddly enough, in the past 5 years, I've had 2 neurosurgical products devices, 2 different devices, but I've dealt with those. I'm dealing with another implant now involving a neurosurgical device. So I've handled all different kinds of medical implants.
So for these mesh cases, when you say it went through this whole mesh tort thing and it's settled, because I think people maybe won't understand this, even though it's already been settled, you can actually still bring a case for this if you are harmed from it.
Yeah. So what happens is there's a device that's on the market. Let's say it's transvaginal mesh, and a whole bunch of lawyers file suit on behalf of thousands and thousands of women. It's clear there's going to be a mass group of filings. What is set up is called a mass tort through the federal court system. And one jurisdiction in the transvaginal mesh case, it was the federal courts in West Virginia, handle all of those cases. So no matter where you were in the country at the time, if you had a transvaginal mesh case, it got sent to West Virginia. And then typically what happens is after 1 or 2 trials, the defendants will settle the cases that all the lawyers who have cases in West Virginia filed. So they'll settle inventories with each of the different lawyers. Now, what happens is once it's settled and the mass tort is shut down, you could still have an injury. You could be someone who got an implant after the fact if they weren't taken off the market or just suffered a later injury. That doesn't mean you're barred from recovering in any way. You just have to find a lawyer who's willing to represent you individually, as opposed to in that mass tort multi-district litigation setting. So that's what we're doing. And we have cases filed across the country in transvaginal mesh. We literally have hundreds of them right now, but we're pursuing each one as though they were its own case, as opposed to lumping them together like what you get in the mass tort setting.
I don't think that's something that everybody, again, would know without working in mass tort, or especially people that are injured. They may think, oh, it's too late for me.
And I think it's important to recognize that still happens as long as your statute of limitations hasn't expired. Yeah, you can absolutely still pursue a claim.
And what would be a statute on a case like this?
It depends on honestly what state you live in. But here in Pennsylvania, the statute of limitations is 2 years. So that's 2 years from the date you knew or should have known that the negligence of someone else caused your injury.
Okay, great. So switching gears on you again a little bit.
Sure.
What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started practicing law?
Oh gosh, so much more. I think that's easy though. And I tell it to my young lawyers all the time, is that I'm not any smarter than them. I'm much more comfortable in messing up now, because the trick to being a good lawyer is not that something bad stuff never happens. That's false. Bad stuff's always going to happen. You're always going to lose a trial. You're always going to lose an argument. A client's going to go crazy. Something bad's going to happen. But is dealing with it and being able to juggle many things. And a problem occurs. Okay, let's solve the problem. How can we deal with the problem? And I think that's what differentiates the young lawyer from a senior lawyer. Is when you're a young lawyer, you want to be perfect and not mess up. And oh my God, I did this right. I did this right. And it's, if I make a mistake now, I'm like, okay, we'll get to it. We'll work around it. It's almost like being a good tennis player. You just have to see what's going to get served back at you.
No, for sure. Just being in practice for so long and gaining some confidence, because you do have some significant wins, and realizing that, hey, we're still all human. And
yeah,
I think it's really a confidence thing, maybe.
Experience matters. The longer you are a lawyer and the more mistakes you make, the more you grow and learn. No one really learns when you do everything perfectly. You learn more the more you get out there and get your hands dirty and muddy. So it comes from years of experience is where confidence comes from, but it helps. And I just think to young lawyers out there and young experts and everyone, you just have to get out there and get your hands dirty and just do it and try things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always say I learn best from my mistakes. The worse the mistake, the better of a lesson.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's hard even for me to say that sometimes, but that's what you have to do.
Yeah, for sure. And in talking about all this, how about, I know you do a lot with mentoring, tips for new attorneys, and maybe discuss the mentoring role and the role models there a little bit more.
Sure. I deal a lot of times with law students at the initial mentoring level. I mentor students from local schools. We have law clerks here. And I always tell them that when you're in law school, the most important thing you can do is to go get experience. Go do a semester at the district attorney's office if they'll have you. Go do a semester at a large defense firm doing corporate law for a summer. Go get a semester at a plaintiff's firm to figure out not only what you want to do, but also what you hate doing and what you don't like doing. Because once you get a job and you have to start paying your student loans and the real world kicks in, it's a lot less easy to just accept things for experience sake and just do them for a couple months. So I think at that level, it's important to take all the weird classes in law school, get out there, get real world experience, try everything you can to see what's a good fit for you. And then as a lawyer, I think it's really important to be proactive, volunteer for projects. If somebody's going to court, ask if you can tag along and just watch. Sit in on depositions, stay late when somebody needs help. The more you can get your hands dirty, the better off as a lawyer you'll be.
It's a really good point. And I think that's something people tend to forget, is really trying to figure out what it is you don't like, which helps you figure out what you do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that the best lawyers are people who enjoy what they do. It always strikes me some days when I get on my car and I stop at Starbucks and walk into my office and I just look around. The number of people who walk into whatever profession they're going into in these high rises that just look completely miserable, like they're walking to their own funeral. And I'm smiling along and I'm drinking my own thing and thinking of all the exciting things I have to do. And for young lawyers and law students and people going into a profession, being happy is what's most important. So find a job you're going to like, because you're going to be doing it a long time, and work with people you like because you spend a large part of your day with them.
That is another really great point too, of spending the time with the people. Absolutely. They become a second family in a way. Right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was texting with my coworker this morning at 7 a.m. about her taking her kids to the Phillies game tonight. But it's important. We like each other. Outside of being colleagues, we like each other. And it's important. Same thing when you're going to hire a lawyer. You got to have a lawyer you like and you have something in common with. You don't want a lawyer that you have nothing in common with or who's not your cup of tea.
It's always nice when you can sit back and look at your life and think, gee, I'm just happy to get up every day and do what I'm doing and smiling. And it's an amazing feeling, actually.
Yeah, it really is. It's truly unbelievable. I'm fortunate, but I guess fortunate by design. It's a cultivated lifestyle that at this firm where I want to be, I'm surrounded by great people that I like, and I take clients that I like, and I don't accept clients that I don't want to represent, which makes me a lot happier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's similar to us. I don't take experts on that I don't want to work with either. Morally and
my quality of life to me is so important, and it's important. Your own happiness is important, and if you're happy, then you'll be better at what you do.
Absolutely, and I think to some extent, and I don't want to no man bashing, but I think for some reason, like women, for some reason, with the kids and the family and the way that we've had to navigate coming into the workforce, for some reason, it seems to be a higher value of the quality of life stuff for whatever reason.
Yeah, man or woman, everybody's got to worry about their quality of life. But with women, it's good to have camaraderie because I have almost 15-year-old, and hormones are real, and she's raging. And some mornings I'll get dressed for work, and I think I look nice, and she'll say to me, "Are you going to wear that to work?" And I'm like, "Oh God!" And you come and it's nice to walk with have some female coworkers who said I look very nice.
Oh, mine's 11 going on 21, and fortunately, I haven't gotten that yet. Normally, if I'm going out somewhere, she's, "Mom, you look really great." So I have something to look forward to.
But then it turns around just as easily. The next day she'll give me a hug and tell me how beautiful I look. But I think women can understand that. Just the art of raising children is something that women can bond over because it truly is an art.
No, yeah. No, it does. It is. It's truly. And it's for whatever reason, at least the men that I've encountered, they don't mind. They get up, they go to work, they leave every day and they do this stuff. And it just seems like the housework and the kids and everything else falls to us, even though we still work too.
I am fortunate enough to have a husband that's a stay-at-home husband. He retired when I had my second son. So he does the lion's share of driving the kids around and picking them up and dropping them off and meal prep and supermarket shopping and dry cleaning runs. However, that being said, everybody's, "Oh, that's such a luxury." I was like, but I'm still a mom. The kids, when they get hurt or they cry or they need help with their physics homework or they need help studying for something, they come to mom. So it's funny because I have my husband. He's phenomenal at what he does, but I am still a mom. So you still do have to do that balancing act.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm fortunate enough at this point to be in a relationship with someone who takes his equal share of the housework and the helping with the kids too. So every now and then you find that diamond in the rough, right?
Exactly. I'm fortunate to have him.
Yes, likewise. Now, for the female lawyers that you mentor and stuff, do you go into the schools, or how do these young trial lawyers, or how do they find you, or how do you get connected with them?
I honestly can't say. I had a young girl who's out at Ohio State who I think found me on the internet, but she sent me her resume. She's really interested in clerking in our firm, and her fiance is doing his residency over at the University of Pennsylvania. So she asked if she could come in and interview with me, and I met with her, and she's going to clerk here next summer. We've created a great relationship via email and speaking to her about law school and things like that. I'm very involved with different trial organizations, Pennsylvania Association for Justice, the American Association for Justice. So they have a lot of clerkship programs where we bring people in like that, meeting with law students. I'm still very active at Temple, where I was an alumni. I'm on their board of visitors. I lecture over there, so I meet law students that way.
Maybe some of them will find you after watching this.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah.
You might get very busy. Hopefully. So, in your opinion, what does it take to be a successful trial attorney?
One, hard work tops everything. You don't have to be the top of your class. You have to be willing to work hard and roll up your sleeves and believe what you're doing and work those late nights, work those early mornings. I work weekends. I've given up family events. I've missed out on some vacations and things like that. So hard work is first. Second is confidence. You need to be confident in what you're doing. You're not going to get very far if you walk into a courtroom and are too scared to say hello and can't just stand up and say what you believe or what happened to your client. So you need to work on that confidence however you can. A good way to do that is to practice public speaking however you can. Volunteer to go to discovery court, volunteer to take those depositions, volunteer to speak at local organizations, but you're going to need confidence to be a successful trial attorney.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you make it up to your kids when you have to miss an event or call off or do something?
Horrible mom guilt. I really do. I am constantly trying to make it up to my children, but we prioritize eating dinner together as a family. We do that every night, almost every night. Even if we're eating out a lot because the kids are coming home from sports or something like that, we'll go to a restaurant. We do a lot of, they get annoyed when I make them tell me the best part of the day and their worst part of the day every day.
I do that every night with my kids.
I know where he's talking about something that happened at the house. I'm talking about something that happened in deposition. We also take family vacations over Christmas break, over spring break. And I think it's important to spend time with your kids just one-on-one, where they are forced to talk to you and be there for you. And I try not to miss things when I can. If I am not on trial or I'm not in a deposition, I'll leave the office at 3:00 so I can go see my daughter play field hockey or see my son's wrestling meet. And then I log back home when I can at home or things like that. But it involves a lot of juggling of schedules, but I try to be present as much as I possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it when you can. Roll with it.
You got to roll with it.
The way life goes. Do you ever talk to your kids or tell them about your work or your cases?
I do. When they were little, I couldn't because I didn't want to horrify them. Like, that's what I had at the moment. But now I do. I have teenagers and I talk to them about this baby passed away and this is what the doctors did wrong, or this medical device did X, Y, and Z to this woman. And they ask me about it. They want to know what happened in depositions and what happened in cases and how did a trial go. I think it's good to talk to kids too, because they're trying to figure the world out as well to see what they might want to do one day. And it's good to talk to them about things.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think you have any lawyers coming up?
I don't know. My daughter, I think, has an interest because last year her school makes all the kids go to work day, but the rule was you weren't allowed to go to work with your parents. You had to go with someone else. My daughter, behind my back, arranged to go to work with two of my colleagues and was here in office, but not with me. I don't think she'd ever admit that she maybe wants to be a lawyer, but I definitely think there's a little bit of an interest. But I always say, do what you want to do. Make yourself happy. Yeah, mom, no pressure from mom.
No pressure from mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great because you're a role model for them too. They get to at least see what that looks like from behind the scenes.
Knock on wood, hopefully a good one. That's what I always say.
We do the best we can with the information we have.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. How about tell us a little bit about yourself growing up?
Sure. I grew up, my parents were divorced. My mom lived in Glenside with my stepfather, and I have a real big step family. I have 3 step siblings and 1 natural brother. My father lived out in Collegeville, so I spent every other weekend out there. I had a pretty normal childhood, went to public schools, but my parents at that time were old and tired of whatever, Kyla, as long as you do well at school, you'll be fine. So I was always motivated to do well at school just so I could be on my parents' hair and they wouldn't bother me with what I had going on.
All right. How about any siblings? What do your siblings do? Any other attorneys in the family, doctors in the family?
We're all over the place. My oldest sibling is in IT sales. Next up is teacher. Then we have an accountant. He's got his MBA, so he does finance work. And then my brother is I don't know what you call that, safety science. He's an inspector for oil lines. We're all over the place.
So what do you think would be something that would surprise people to know about you?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
You don't have any secrets.
I'm one of those, I don't keep many secrets. Some people play it very close to the vest. Once you get to know me, I tell everybody everything. Down to if I got a shirt at Marshall's, I'm like, this was only $17. I am a very open and honest book. I don't have much hidden. I guess if you know me, you know that I am an avid reader. I read all the time. I am up late at night, up early. up early in the morning reading books. I also go to bed very early. I am a huge believer in going to bed early and getting up early.
Okay, good. Who's your favorite author?
I couldn't name one. I just read another novel by Elin Hildebrand, who I love. I've read several Stephen King books several times. I also read a lot of nonfiction. Ryan Holiday, who's a famous Stoic. I've read a lot of his works. I read all the time, all different genres. People are sending me books. People recommend books for me. I actually, last weekend, one of my nephews got engaged and I went to the bridal shower, and it was the coolest bridal shower I've ever been to, because on the way out, you normally get a candle or a gift. They gave you books wrapped in paper, and it was a mystery as to what kind of book you were going to get. I was so excited.
Oh.
He also loves to read. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
That is really neat. That is unique. I wish I had thought about that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I thought it was such a cool thing. I was like, oh, this is the best shower ever. Yeah. In my job, though, being a reader helps, because I will launch myself into, at night, I'll be sitting here reading Williams' Obstetrics and Gynecology, and that's no problem for me. I read all the time.
Yeah, me too. And I have to agree with you. If I had to pick somebody, I'd say Stephen King is my favorite author.
Oh, wow.
So we're definitely on the same page there, for sure. Anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
The only thing I can say is keep going. I meet lawyers all the time at different conferences and stuff, and it's not an easy job to be a trial lawyer, to be a litigator. You are going to suffer losses. You're going to have stressful situations, and you got to keep going. You got to rise above it and be happy above all else, but you got to keep going, because I meet people who are in some real ruts sometimes, and I feel for them. I really do. But you got to keep your head up and keep going, and it'll be a success.
Yeah, absolutely. This was really great. I'm so glad to have had you on today. Tell people how they can reach you if they want to find you for either case referrals or maybe mentoring.
Sure, Tracy, I'm at Annapolis Weiss. Our main office is in Philadelphia, where I'm located. We also have offices in New Jersey, in Dallas, in Scottsdale, in Minnesota, in Los Angeles, Washington, D.C. So we really are coast to coast. My phone is 215-790-4581. And my email, kbaldwin@annapolisweiss.com. We do personal injury in all forms: medical malpractice, products liability, negligence, power line cases, and we also do mass torts.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyla. I'm sure our listeners will absolutely love this conversation. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thanks, Tracy. I appreciate it.
Statutes and Stethoscopes podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.